So, I am a nerd, if you haven't noticed.
Hey everybody! I just forged Danger Armor in Skyrim and I want everybody to know about it!
Yep, I'm a nerd. And I recently made several nerdy purchases that I wanted to share with you. I purchased some comic books. I just went to the comic book store and I just bought a bunch of games, well, 2 games, because I just sold some of my old games, and I wanted to share this with you. I apologize, I'm kind of under the weather right now. I haven't really slept much. I've been finishing my packing. I'm actually moving tomorrow, so I wanted to make a quick video before I, get all the craziness of having to move into my new apartment. So, but I recently made some awesome nerdy purchases, and I wanted to make this video because a lot of people have been asking me about the comic books that I read since I made the Batman video, and I must admit I have not read a single Batman comic, which not yet, but I am going to, and I bought a few. The reason why I haven't really started with a lot of these superhero comic books that I've always wanted to read is because there's just so much that I don't really know where to start. And so I asked the man who owns the comic book store in my local area. He just gave me some great advice about where to start, and he gave me the backstory of some of these characters, but I'll show you that in a second. But the reason I know so much about the Batman characters and the villains is because I paid a lot of attention through other mediums about it, and I read a lot about the comic books without actually reading the comic books, which is kind of sad. But this is mostly Batman related, but there's also other comic books that I have here as well. So, and I have watched Batman the animated series. If you haven't watched that, you should. It's completely free on the WB website. I just found that because I wanted to go back and watch some of those episodes that I loved as a kid. So that's how I know a lot about some of these characters. But these, when I went to the comic book store, this is what I picked up. I'm reading this comic called Saga. I said Saga when I was there, and the guy corrected me. I guess you say Saga. But it is by the writer who wrote Why the Last Man. And if you have not read a single comic book and you hate comic books, you need to read Why the Last Man. I don't care if you ever plan on reading a comic book in your life, you need to read Why the Last Man. That is on my top 10 list of most influential works of literature in my personal life, like next to Kate Chopin's Awakening and Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, in my opinion. Like, it is the most influential literature. Like, I put it in the right next to things that I'm studying as an English major on a philosophical level, if you get what I'm saying. It's a great piece of literature, as well as it has great art, and it changed my perspective on life, to be perfectly honest. It's one of those stories that really impacted me. So I, of course, when I heard that he was writing something else, I just immediately jumped on it. I'm like, yes, I love Vaughan. I think that's how you say his name, Vaughan. Excuse me, like I said, I'm very under the weather right now. But this story is incredibly kooky and strange. It's about these 2 characters. I'm not going to go too much into it, but they have a child. They're from it's definitely a Romeo and Juliet-esque story. They're from 2 different worlds, literally, that are warring with each other and trying to survive and trying to keep their kid alive. And it's so vulnerable from the beginning of the story. There's this couple, they love each other and they just had a kid, and there's literally like war going on as she's giving birth to this child, and it's very bizarre. Some of these creatures are so strange, and even in the first issue, there is, I believe it's in the first or it's in the second, there is some really awkwardly graphic sex. Like, not even like hot sex. It's like, am I supposed to be aroused? Like, this is really weird. And you'll know what I'm talking about if you've read this. And it just gets weirder and weirder. I'm trying to find, I can't show the scene. I can't show a lot of this because it's so strange. I just hope anyone I know that, is rifling through my room doesn't see it and think that I'm a very strange person, because they probably will if they see this. But, here's... Welcome to Sextillion. That's how weird this comic book is, but it's part of the charm of it. It really is. Yes, sorry. My throat is all groggly. So, I also picked up this, the Astonishing XMen. It is one of the more recent renditions of X-Men, and it starts out, from what the owner of the comic book store told me, it's the X-Men returning to the vision that the mutants are a minority, and returning back to that aspect of the X-Men, because they kind of sidetracked from that for a while. And that is what I loved about the X-Men, is that here is this rejected culture in society, and having to deal with that, and that is a big part of some of these characters. And I wanted to learn about these characters and start off in a way that had some of the great characters that all of us love, either through the movies or the comic books or whatever. So this will hopefully fill me in on X-Men. Also, Batman. I got this at the Batman premiere, the midnight premiere, Earth 1. It is I think it's kind of like an alternate kind of universe. It tells Batman's story, but the story is a little bit different from what I'm getting. But I think this is just the free first issue, but I think I'm gonna buy the volume because I read this and it's really good. It's very dark, and Batman is teamed up with a Joker in this, which is really cool. I also got this Batman. It is Frank Miller. He's the writer of 300 and The Watchmen, I think. Okay, I may have to correct myself on that. But it's year 1. It's his take on the Batman story, and he starts from the beginning of Batman's genesis. So that'll hopefully fill me in, because I can't start from the 60s. Like, I can't start from the very first, because that would just take tons of money and time. But I do know a lot about the Batman characters. I will say that, so it won't be too difficult for me to pick it up. I also picked this up. No, wait, my dad got me this. It's like, this doesn't look familiar. My dad got me this, and it looks pretty good. Batman versus Bane. So that'll be interesting. So those are the comic books that I got at the comic book store. Now, these volumes were all about, I think the most I paid was $15 or $16 for these. So it will vary depending on whether you buy it online. Online, these usually are $10, like on Amazon or stuff, so the prices are smaller, but you do have to pay for shipping. So I'd recommend you get it at, a local comic book store. If you haven't found a local comic book store, find one that you really love, that you can, bond with the people with and stuff. The people are just great at my local comic book store. So, and these issues are usually about $3 at most. So, and here's the games that I got. Again, excuse me for my throat and everything. Here's the games that I got. I played Arkham Asylum. I just played Arkham Asylum because everyone was asking me about that, and a lot of you were surprised that I have not played the Batman games because I love Batman so much. It's just, when it first came out, the first Arkham Asylum came out in 2009, and I was like living in a cave in 2009. I was totally oblivious to everything that was happening. I had so much going on that whole year. So, I mean, that's the year I graduated high school, and that year was crazy, so I didn't have time to play like anything that year. So I finally bought it. It's one of the games that I've been wanting to play, and I'm gonna do a review on it. It is really good, and so I went and bought Arkham City to complete my Arkham collection, and I cannot wait to play that. The Arkham Asylum was so freaking good, and if you haven't played it, you need to play it. Also, I got Deus Ex. I got this online. Oh, this was like $30 at GameStop, so that's the price for this. This is Deus Ex, the original, The Conspiracy. I've been wanting to play this for so long, and I love Deus Ex Human Revolution, and this looks just fantastic. It was $15 on Amazon. It's $3 at GameStop, so if you can find one at a GameStop, regardless of whether or not you like GameStop, I would recommend that, but the supplies are low. I couldn't find any GameStop that carried it, and they don't have it online, but it's only $3 on GameStop. So if you have one near you and they have the game in the store, just buy it, or you hopefully have already bought that game, because it's a classic. It should be played. So that is pretty much it. Oh, and also I got, if you haven't noticed by now, my audio sounds way better. Welcome to Galaxy News Radio. You're listening to the adventures of me, Herbert Daring Dashwood, and my stalwart girl manservant, Argyle. I got a new microphone. I sold my Kinect, and it was totally worth it because I didn't use my Kinect anyways. And I bought this. It's the Blue Yeti microphone. It was about $90, so that's not too bad for a really good microphone. It's professional quality. It's really good, and I was just sick of hearing all the static in the background in all my videos. And my next step is to get some better lighting, because I mean, I'm standing in front of my window right now, so that's the most decent, but I actually have really bright red hair, like really bright red hair, like poison ivy red. Well, I mean, kind of pinkish red, but you can't tell that because the lighting is so bad, and so it would be nice to actually see the way my hair looks. So that is pretty much all I have to cover. That's all that I bought. I wish I was more energetic in this video, but I'm so like exhausted. I can't wait to finally get all my stuff in my new apartment and then just sleep for like 2 days. But yep, that's it. I should go.